At my sister's wedding, lace, chandeliers, violins playing songs too pretty for the people who stood beneath them, my 8-year-old daughter tugged my arm. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Mom, we have to get out of here. Fast." I crouched down, thinking maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe the lights or the music or the strange looks from our relatives had gotten to her. "Why?" I asked, brushing a curl behind her ear. She didn't answer. She just pulled out her phone, my old one, passed down, barely working, and tapped open a video. "Look at this." And when I saw it, I froze. "My name is Valerie, and from wherever you're watching this, stay with me. Because have you ever stood in a room full of people clapping for a lie and realized you were the only one who knew the truth?" The video played in silence. Grainy. Shaky. But clear enough. It was my husband, with my sister, in a dressing room, kissing. His hands on her waist, her voice giggling, saying, "We should have told her by now." My blood went cold. The date stamp? Last week. 1 week before this wedding. 1 week before I helped her pick the flowers. Before I sat next to her at the final dress fitting, holding back tears because I was genuinely happy for her. And now? Now my daughter, 8 years old, was the only one brave enough to show me. I looked down at her. "Where did you find this?" She bit her lip. "I saw them last week. At the house." I didn't know what to do. So I waited. And when he left his phone on the table, I airdropped the video to mine. "I just didn't want to hurt you unless I had to." She was shaking. But I wasn't. Not anymore. Because in that moment, something ancient woke up in me. Not rage. Precision. I stood slowly, smoothed my dress, kissed my daughter's forehead. "Good," I whispered. "Now we go." Not to cry. To plan. Because they thought this would break me. But they forgot. You never betray a woman who taught her daughter to watch. And this time, they'd both learn what that really meant. I walked out of that ballroom like nothing happened. My daughter's tiny hand curled into mine. Her heart was pounding. Mine? Steady. Cold. Calculating. The violins kept playing. The crowd kept toasting. My sister stood at the altar, pretending to promise forever. And my husband? He sat in the front row, smug, polished, clapping like he hadn't already broken every vow he ever made to me. I didn't scream, didn't run, didn't faint, because this wasn't going to be a scene. It was going to be a symphony. And I was about to conduct the whole damn thing. We got in the car. I buckled my daughter in, handed her headphones, and said, "You were brave today. Now let mommy handle the rest." That night, I didn't sleep. I watched the video again. And again. I slowed it down, took screenshots, pulled metadata, everything I needed to turn this betrayal into evidence, and eventually into ashes. By morning, my husband noticed the shift. He walked into the kitchen, yawning like a man who didn't know he'd already lost everything. "Morning," he said. I poured coffee. "How was the wedding?" He blinked. "What do you mean?" "You were there." I smiled. "Just checking what version of the truth you remember." He squinted. "Everything okay?" I handed him the cup. Perfect. He kissed the top of my head like nothing was wrong. That's when I knew. He thought I was too soft to detonate anything. He thought loyalty made me blind. It didn't. It made me quiet. And that's worse. Later that day, I called my lawyer. Quietly filed papers under sealed notice. The house, in my name. The cars, all leased through my business. The accounts, I'd set up a secondary 1 month ago when I first felt that gut twist women are trained to ignore. But the best part? The prenup he forced me to sign? Null and void if infidelity could be proven. And now? It could. Not just hearsay. Footage. Footage captured by an 8-year-old girl who watched the world betray her mother and said, "No, not today." So no, I wasn't broken. I was arming myself. Because, what they didn't realize, I wasn't the woman standing in the wreckage. I was the one pulling the detonator. He noticed the silence first. No arguments. No tears. No accusations. Just stillness. The kind of stillness that should have scared him, but didn't. Because men like him think destruction only comes with screaming. But I'd already started the demolition. That morning, I sent a copy of the video, watermarked, time-stamped, to my lawyer. Subject line: proof. Let's proceed. He responded within 10 minutes. This will hold up in court. Given the prenup clause, we're in control now. Control. Something he used to wrap around me like a leash. Now I wore it like armor. I spent the next day laying traps. Revoked access to the business credit card. Flagged joint accounts. Transferred ownership of my company's tech assets to a holding LLC, one he didn't know existed. He came home late that night. Loosened tie, wine on his breath, arrogance in his shoulders. "You've been quiet," he said, dropping his keys into the dish by the door. "Everything okay?" I smiled. "Perfect." He nodded, satisfied. Walked into the living room. I followed with 2 glasses of wine. My hand steady. My heart not even racing. We sat. He turned on the TV. I reached for the remote and muted it.
He looked at me.
"What's up?" I opened my phone. Tapped the screen. Pressed play. There they were. Him. My sister.
A kiss.
A laugh. Her saying, "We should have told her by now." He froze. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. Where did you get this?" he stammered.
Our daughter," I said.
"The one you forgot could see." His hands trembled. "Val, wait, this isn't what it looks like." "Oh no." I cut him off. "It's exactly what it looks like. That's the problem." He leaned forward. "It was a mistake." "No," I said. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. You chose this. And now, so do I." I stood. Walked to the hall. Came back with a manila envelope. Slid it across the coffee table. He opened it. Inside, the divorce papers.
Filed.
Stamped. Ironclad. And clipped to them, a letter revoking his power of attorney, business access, and joint benefits. His hands dropped. "You've been planning this," he whispered. "No," I said. "I've been watching. And while you were playing God with my life, I built an escape route you'll never follow." Then I turned and walked away, because he didn't deserve a breakdown. He deserved to be erased. The next morning, my phone exploded. Not with apologies, but with damage control. Texts from him. "Can we talk? Don't do this. I made a mistake. You're overreacting." And finally, the one that made me laugh out loud. "Let's be adults." Adults? Like the kind who sneak around with your sister while your daughter watches from a doorway? Like the kind who wear tuxedos to a wedding built on lies? I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to my lawyer's office and signed the final power transfer. By noon, he was locked out of everything: emails, accounts, even the building where we used to run our joint business. He showed up at my office 2 hours later, banging on the glass door like a man finally understanding that the world he built was actually mine. "Valerie, come on. Just let me explain." My assistant stared at him like he was a street performer in a suit. I walked to the door.
Calm.
Straight-backed. Quiet. Opened it just enough for him to look me in the eye. "You had a wife," I said. "And a daughter. You had a life most people pray for. And you threw it away for what?
A thrill?
My sister's approval? Some pathetic little secret you thought you could control?" His mouth opened.
Closed.
Opened again. I kept going. "You cheated on a woman who was building your legacy while you played house with my blood." He whispered, "I didn't mean to hurt you." And I said the one thing I knew would bury him. "You didn't think I'd matter enough to hurt." I closed the door, locked it, then turned back to my team and said, "Let's get back to work." Because while he unraveled, I was expanding. Later that night, I found my daughter curled up on the couch, sketching in her notebook. "Watch out working on?" I asked. She smiled. "An invention. It fixes things that people break." I sat down beside her. Heartbreaking and healing at the same time. "You already fixed the most important one," I whispered. "Me." Because she had. While I'd been doubting, shrinking, trying to make sense of betrayal, she'd pulled me out. Not with rage, with truth. And I wasn't going back. Because revenge wasn't the goal anymore. Rebuilding was. And I was just getting started. The invitation came 2 weeks later. An envelope, hand-delivered, cream-colored, embossed in gold. Brunch for the newlyweds. My sister's name at the top. My husband's name, no, my ex, now printed beside hers. Like it had always been that way. Like I was the mistake they corrected. I held the invitation like it might rot in my hands. Are they serious? My assistant asked, peering over my shoulder.
They're not serious, I said.
They're desperate. Because this wasn't a celebration. It was a declaration. They weren't just flaunting the affair. They were rewriting it. Making themselves the heroes of some twisted little love story they expected the world to accept. But I knew what they really wanted. My silence. My surrender. My absence. I set the envelope down.
I'm going, I said.
My assistant blinked. You are? Absolutely, I smiled. And I'm not coming empty-handed. Over the next few days, I made moves quietly. Called a friend at the local paper. Reached out to a woman I once hired, now a rising investigative journalist. Sent over everything. The footage, the timeline, the business records showing money transfers between my husband and sister's accounts weeks before they told me. The story was airtight. But it wouldn't go live until after brunch. Because timing is everything. That Sunday, I walked into the venue like I was made of diamond. Sharp.
Cut.
Unbreakable. My ex froze mid-sip. My sister dropped her fork. I wore white. Not because I was reclaiming purity. Because I wanted them to know I survived. And I still sparkled. Valerie, my sister said, rising. You look like I've already forgiven myself for loving people who didn't deserve me? I asked, sliding into the seat across from them. She blinked. My ex leaned forward. Can we just be civil? I tilted my head. You planned a wedding in the shadow of my divorce. You sent my daughter an invitation like she's supposed to forget. And now you want civility. He went quiet. I reached into my bag and pulled out 2 folders. Set them on the table. Here's what civility looks like, I said. A cease and desist for using my daughter's name or image in any future family photos. And a formal withdrawal of your access to the family business you never helped build. My sister's mouth parted. You can't do this. I did. I stood, smiled. And just before walking out, I leaned in and whispered, check the news in an hour. Because while they were toasting to betrayal, I was toasting to exposure. By the time they sliced into the cake, the news had already gone live. A front-page feature on the local outlet Sunday Spotlight. Secrets, lies, and a sister's betrayal. The affair behind the brunch. The article was brutal. Footage. Screenshots.
Dates.
My husband's financial transfers to my sister's business account. My sister's smiling engagement photos, juxtaposed with time-stamped footage from the affair. Even the part where my daughter's video confirmed it all. It didn't just expose them. It eviscerated them. By the time I pulled into my driveway, my phone was vibrating nonstop. Friends. Neighbors. Sponsors from my sister's charity board. Investors from my ex's startup. Every message had the same flavor. We didn't know. We're sorry. We've cut ties. They thought they were untouchable.
But now?
They were radioactive. By nightfall, their names were trending for all the wrong reasons. Hashtag SisterSnake. Hashtag Vows and Lies. Hashtag Valerie deserved better. I didn't post anything. I didn't need to. My silence had become their sentence. At bedtime, my daughter crawled into my arms. Is it over now? She asked. I kissed her forehead. It's just beginning. Because I wasn't stopping here. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about redirection. Over the next week, I turned the attention into action. I launched a mentorship program for single mothers rebuilding after betrayal. Called it Project Backbone. Because that's what we are. The spine behind every collapsing world. The ones who don't fall, we carry. I got a call from a publisher 2 days later. They wanted my story. The whole thing. And this time, I would be the one telling it. Not in courtrooms. Not in whispers. But on paper. On record. On my terms. Meanwhile, my sister's charity lost half its funding. My ex's startup was dropped by its lead investor. And the best part? I never raised my voice. Never made a scene. Just built my own stage. Because they wanted to shame me in private, and I gave them the gift of public memory. They tried to recover, of course. A tear-filled video from my sister's Instagram account, shaky voice and perfect lighting. I never meant to hurt anyone. Love is messy. Please be kind. The comments section wasn't kind. Neither was the board of directors at her nonprofit, who released a statement the same afternoon. Ms. Reynolds will be stepping down, effective immediately. As for my ex, he posted nothing. He just disappeared. His company removed his name from the website. His LinkedIn went dark. Even his gym revoked his featured member bio.
He called twice that week.
Left voicemails like they mattered. You got what you wanted. Can we stop now? You're better than this, Valerie.
No.
I'm just done being better for people who expect me to be small. I spent the week finalizing the first chapter of my book. The working title? Silent Fire. How I burned down their lies without raising my voice. It felt right. Because I didn't scream. I exposed. I corrected. I walked away with everything they thought they'd stolen from me. That Friday, I got a knock at the door. It was my sister. No cameras. No lipstick. No arrogance. Just her. Fragile. Tired. She held out a small box. This belonged to Mom, she said. I thought you should have it. I opened it slowly. Inside, a silver bracelet I hadn't seen since I was 16. Our mother's favorite. One she promised I'd inherit someday, then gave it away, without explanation. I looked at Hannah. Really looked. Tears welled in her eyes. I don't expect anything. I just wanted to say sorry. A real sorry. For everything. I nodded. You did destroy something. I know, she whispered. But I rebuilt it without you. She looked down. I believe that. Then she turned and walked away. And for the first time, she didn't look back. I closed the door gently. My daughter peeked around the hallway. Was that Aunt Hannah? I nodded. She say sorry? She did. Are you gonna forgive her?
I thought about it.
Then I said, I already did. But forgiveness doesn't mean return access. Because I wasn't bitter. I was better. And my peace? That was the part they never saw coming. The book hit shelves on a Tuesday. By Thursday, it was sold out. By Friday, the press was calling me the woman who rebuilt herself without burning the world down, just pulling out the floorboards. But the truth? I did burn it down. Every false promise. Every whispered betrayal. Every fake toast raised over a hollow lie. And in the ashes, I built a home for myself and my daughter. Solid. Warm, untouchable. At the first official event for Project Backbone, I stood on stage in front of 300 women. Some carried divorce papers. Some carried babies. All of them carried scars. I looked out into the crowd and told the story, beginning to end. I told them how my daughter, just 8 years old, became the mirror no one could lie to. How silence isn't weakness. It's power under control. And how being betrayed by the people you love the most doesn't make you broken. It makes you dangerous. Because you stop asking for space. You start taking it. After the event, I found my daughter backstage, reading the program.
You were so calm, she said.
I smiled. I wasn't calm. I was clear. Is it really over now? She asked. I knelt down and held her face in my hands. It's not just over, I said. It's complete. And that night, as we walked home under city lights, hand in hand, I realized something. They thought this would destroy me, but all they did was force me to meet the version of myself I'd been avoiding. The version who doesn't shrink, who doesn't settle, who doesn't apologize for outgrowing the cage they tried to lock her in. I didn't win by hurting them. I won by choosing me. And that's the kind of story you don't just survive. You sign it,
seal it,
and finish it with one word.